Hey people, welcome to the channel. Stay for this video. It's gonna be 7 fatal mistakes that people make when preparing specifically for an economic collapse. This is gonna be based on many of the comments that I got from my previous video, which by the way, it's this one if you wanna go and watch it. And it just reminds me about how little people know about these things. They assume stuff, they imagine things, they've seen movies and they think, yeah, it's gonna be like that. Well, no, it's not. And when I say fatal mistakes, I mean actually cost your life or absolute complete financial ruin. Stay for this video, let me know what you think, and if by the end of the video you think it's absolutely worth it and you want to learn more, you have my books there in the back of the video. You have these available in the links below there in Amazon. Someone in the previous video said, hey, I have everything that I see there in the screen except the books. Well, dude, you're missing, honestly, the most important part, because knowledge is by far more important than any specific item or a piece of gear, all right? Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. This is what I do. These are the books I've written. But again, stay with me for the video if you feel I bring something you haven't seen before to this sort of discussion. The books will be there in Amazon in the links for you to buy and learn even more. Let's start with the first one, maybe the more interesting. What is an economic collapse, right? What is an economic collapse? Number one. And here, the problem is not understanding what you're in. Expecting things that are never going to happen because you have this, picture in your mind about what something is supposed to be, and that's simply not. So what is an economic collapse? What is an economic crisis? An economic collapse involves a complete failure of the economic system in which you move. You don't have banks operating anymore. Your currency lost all or nearly all of its value. You go to the banks and they close and the doors are closed. No one is trading. No one is doing anything. In the case of Argentina, it was along with very violent situations on the streets, anarchy on the streets, a political complete breakdown. And when I say a complete political breakdown, I mean the president just resigns. He says, I cannot deal with it anymore. I resign. And then the vice president, which is the second in line, he resigns as well the following day. He says, I cannot deal with this anymore. And then they go with it, what is the House? They go, and we went through 5 different presidents in less than 2 weeks. 5 different presidents in less than 2 weeks because no one could deal with what was going on. That is an economic collapse, right? That is an economic collapse, a social collapse, a political complete breakdown of the system. And people are just like, what are we doing here, right? What is it that we do, okay? So understand that an economic, it could be something like Argentina. We've seen the banking crisis in Iceland, a country that's super stable. Greece went through a serious event as well. And it's been the case in Weimar Republic. Historically, these things have happened before. But most of all, what I think closely defines what it's the complete devaluation or almost complete devaluation of the currency you're using. The fiat currency loses nearly all of its value. That is what I would call an economic collapse in terms of practical everyday life, right? Don't expect things to go like you saw in Mad Max. If you expect Mel Gibson to knock on your door, you're probably going to make another mistake. Maybe the fatal mistake that so many people make, but that's going to be further down the video. Let's move to number 2, something I hear all the time. Well, I can't eat gold and silver. I tried eating this and I cannot eat it. So I'm going to sell 1 egg for an ounce of gold. You poor, dumb idiot. That's not how it works. It's not about you. It's about the economy. It's about everyone else. It's about history of mankind for thousands of years, considering this silver, gold as something that has an intrinsic value. We just understand it. It's that way. And if you don't like history and you don't want to go back into how many years it's been, thousands and thousands of years, using this as something that has value, just look at how much an ounce of gold or an ounce of silver is worth these days. Now, I've seen the prices of eggs go up a lot, especially in the United States. Reasons, right? You still could buy a ton more eggs if you have the silver and gold. It's not as easy to buy and sell as maybe some other things, but anyway, even if you take a big hit when selling, this still holds a lot of value. This is why you will see people in very poor countries drive into the sewer, risking their lives literally for a little bit of gold or even a little bit of silver that they find from the sewers, right? Or digging into mines or wherever they can, because gold and silver are valuable. And that's something you should never forget. You can make this mistake of just assuming that no, I'm putting everything on my eggs because these things that I don't want them to be valuable will never be. This is a fatal mistake, because you may end up in absolute complete economic ruin if you base your decisions on such a poor idea that has nothing to stand on in terms of reality. Let's move on to the next one. The idea of you never sell guns. You never sell guns. Why would someone commented, you're completely wrong. You never sell a gun in an economic collapse or this or that. Well, I've done it. I don't know about you. Let me know about your own experiences, because I've done it several times. And I can tell you these things are super valuable. You can sell them for a lot of money, right? Or at the very least, as much as you paid for them, and maybe even more, especially during an economic crisis or situations in which people want to defend themselves and things are going bad. And the idea of, no, you never do that because someone else will come and shoot you with it. I mean, let me know in the comments, have you ever sold a gun in your life? Has someone that you sold the gun came and maybe don't sell to the lunatic on the streets. If you go and sell in a gun store, if you go and sell to people that you actually know and trust, these are the things you already do. This maybe goes back to the point number one, which is assuming that things are going to be some sort of movie-like scenario. No, things are valuable and there's a demand for that, and you can sell it and make money. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, selling through a gun store, that it is going to be extremely rare that the guy the gun is legally sold to ends up being a criminal that comes after you, going at you with your own gun. And if that was the case, he would have used anything. It's not like the anti-gun crowd thinks. These are inanimate objects. It's people hurting other people, not the actual tool, okay? So enough about that. And I can tell you that, again, having done these things, it's been times in which I really needed some money, and one of the things that I once sold, and it hurt because I really liked that gun, Smith & Wesson 629 44 Magnum 6-inch barrel, beautiful stainless steel revolver, just like the one from Sledgehammer, right? I needed the money. That was something I could quickly flip, and I did. And yeah, it did come in very, very handy at a time of need. So yes, I absolutely understand that it can be something you end up doing. Let's go to the next one. Number 4, paper currency will be absolutely of no value. No. Why would you even have cash? No. When the economy collapses, cash has no value. Well, maybe this is one of the things that a lot of people... I kind of get why some people would assume that it's still wrong. It's still not how it works. Why? Because imagine, look at it this way. Let's suppose you go to sleep right now, you wake up, and all of a sudden prices have doubled. Prices have tripled. Why? Because the US dollar, because of the tariff war, because of this or that or some other something happened that people lost faith in the US dollar, so they're just getting rid of it. They're just dumping that, and it's not just in the United States. The strength and weakness of the US dollar is that it relies on the world economy. If the entire world says, hell no, where is this going? This makes no sense. I'm getting rid of these dollars because this is going to crash very soon. Not only do you have your own economy crashing like we had in Argentina, you have the entire world dumping your dollars, and all of a sudden that's going to drop the value in ways it is very difficult to see. But based on what we've known has happened before, historically, in other countries like in mine and in other places, we know that it probably can go down very fast. So it's losing 30%, 40%. Within a couple of days, it loses 50% of its value and ends up maybe, like in the case of the Argentine peso, hell, within a few weeks, you lost 70% of its value. Now, all of a sudden, you become poor because you just cannot buy nearly as much with what you have, right? All of a sudden, with $100, I buy an egg. Does that mean I throw away that $100 bill? No. I quickly go and buy the freaking egg or buy whatever the hell it is I can buy. And if you're thinking about the other point, this will not go down along with the US dollar. If all of a sudden an egg is worth $100, yeah, Go figure how much one of these is going to be worth in US dollars. It's maybe going to be worth $3,000 or I don't know, whatever it is. But it's not going to go down along with it because this has been along for a much longer time. It's been around for thousands of years, and it is on the world economy, not just what's happening in your own country, okay? So the idea that all of a sudden paper money becomes of no value, no, it lost 70% of its value or even 90% of its value. But whatever I have left of my savings, if my savings used to buy me a car and the next week my savings buy me a week worth of groceries, I'm not throwing it away. I'm quickly buying a week's worth of groceries. Do you see where this is going to? And besides, also in this point, the idea that all paper currency is the same. No, it's not. Something that was in a scene from Civil War. Those guys did a little bit of research. They were talking about how many I want to buy gas. Yeah, I have $1,000 for a gallon of gas. $1,000? Yeah, you're not buying that, honey. You're maybe buying a sandwich with $1,000. No, 1,000 Canadian. Which is kind of like funny, but it's really not, because when your economy goes to shit, wherever it is that you happen to be, if it is a fiat currency, not sustained by this, yeah, whatever is going on elsewhere that is not going down the drain along with you, well, that is gonna be especially of even more value. Even more so than before, because you're going down. The other ones are not, right? Whatever other economy is going around. And this is maybe something, a special point within the idea of, well, if we go down, everyone goes along with us. No, sweetheart, that's not how it works, right? The world does not revolve around you, even if you are an American, even if you are in the United States. If something horrible happens to the United States, it's not the case that everyone else goes down along with you. Why? Well, because if you look at it in terms of practical aspects of it, let's say China, for example, China is a country that makes most of the things we do, right? Most of the things we use. Most of the things. If China suddenly disappears one day, completely collapses, an absolute complete breakdown of the Chinese society and economy and political system, and nothing else is coming out of China, damn it, that's going to hurt the entire world. If I look around and see what is it that I need that comes from the United States, the US dollar, that's what I need to survive, well, we can get by without it, right? It's actually kind of happening already. It has lost quite a bit of its of the world trade that used to be mostly dollars. It's slowly being replaced by some other currencies. I don't think it's going to be completely replaced anytime soon, but it shows you that it is still a fiat currency, right? It is not something you need to actually survive, to use a dollar. I can use something else. In fact, most people all over the world don't even touch a US dollar. In Argentina, we did, because our economy was crap. Our currency was not of very little value, so you do end up using US dollars. But you know what? And again, things I've actually done and seen many times. I've seen people use US dollars. I've seen people use euros. And those, it is as simple as picking up your cell phone, checking how much it's worth. Oh, okay, nice. It's actually even worth a little bit more than $1. Okay, yeah, this is the exchange I give you, all right, for your euros. From someone that has never left the country and has they just know that it's a piece of paper that has a certain amount of value. And that's how it goes. It is completely unrealistic to think that, no, but if this happens to me, the entire world will cease to exist. No, it does not. I mean, it's something that I understand why people would think that way, because it's kind of human nature to think that you're so super special, but you're not the adorable, super special snowflake you probably think you are, and the same goes for the broader picture. Let's move to the next one. So again, the idea of paper currency not being, especially during this first stage, it is going to be something you really don't want to just throw around and start burning, because it's the only thing it's useful for. Number 5, water. And this is interesting because it goes beyond the economic aspect and this social breakdown and infrastructure, but water in terms of how is it that you go about preparedness in water? Well, one of the things I remind people all the time is have a lot of actual physical water stored. Beyond economic collapse preparedness, if you look at it in terms of large-scale disasters, natural disasters, floods, these are all things that affect the grid. Not only that, they also affect whatever well or stream or whatever it is that you have. If you have a flood if you have some leak industrial in the water that you're used to consuming. Hell, even natural things like a volcanic eruption will make an entire lake of crystal clear, perfectly fine water completely impossible to drink. It turns it into freaking acid, and it's not safe to drink. And there's no amount of filtering that will change that. But most of all, the idea of water in hand, water stored, which I have immediate access to, this should be key. And yes, having ways of filtering water, having ways of treating water. The more of those you have, the better, right? Keep in mind, chemicals, anything that leaks into that water, but having the water accessible if you're injured, if you're hurt, if everything has been contaminated. It just gives you time to plan your next move. Physically stored water. And yes, wells, stream, land, everything is good. As much as that as you can. But physical water at hand, several days of. Okay? Now, and especially in terms of economic collapse, social breakdown, one of the things we've seen in Argentina is, yes, you do have tap water, but because of the economic reality, and this is happening in other countries as well, it's been happening actually for a long time. In Flint, Michigan, in the United States, the tap water is poison. You cannot even drink that. How is it that you go around that? Well, these are the things you need to think of in terms of water and preparedness. Number 6, denial. The idea of denial that this isn't happening. And this goes back to what is an economic collapse? This isn't an economic collapse. I don't see Mel Gibson with his shotgun and his dog and driving it. It's not that way. Maybe you are closer to one. Maybe your country has changed. Maybe it's an economic crisis. Maybe it's a depression. Maybe it's whatever. But you need to keep it real. Not drama, not fear-mongering, not doomsday, but be objective and honest with yourself about how shitty the situation has gotten and what should be your next move. Expecting things to go down as in a Hollywood movie, you'll never see that happen. You'll end up living in freaking Liberia, right? In Africa, in Zimbabwe. You'll end up in a destroyed former civilized nation, and you will still clinch to this idea. No, we're still number one. We're still good. This is still okay. This happens everywhere, right? No, it doesn't. It gets to a point where no, it doesn't. There's countries that are maybe worse than you are. There's countries that are maybe better than you are. But you need to keep it real. Wherever it is that you are right now, whatever situation you happen to be in, it is maybe one of the most difficult things to do. Because again, I've seen it. I've seen people say that this is a safe neighborhood. I've said that this a number of times. There was a news, 8 p.m. news clip. There was a little reporter, right? The lady with a microphone interviewing. No, this is a safe neighborhood. And there was a dead guy right behind the woman. One of her neighbors had been shot. And, no, this is really a safe neighborhood. You have a corpse. What are you talking? Denial. It is a very natural preservation instinct to say, no. Why? Because stress is actually one of the things that kills you more than most of these things that we're talking about. So we try to avoid that by saying, no, we're good. Yeah, it's going to be fine. And sometimes, no, it's not. So the idea of denial of how bad the economy is, the idea of denial of how dangerous your country has turned into when it wasn't like that before, all of these things about denial are very dangerous. So you need to keep it objective. I cover this in my book quite a bit, and it's something that you really need to, okay, my passions and patriotism and loyalties and wishful thinking aside, where the hell are we? How are things going down? What is really my current purchasing power in terms of what it used to be? Where are we heading? Is this getting worse? Objectively so? Okay, maybe I need to take some steps. Maybe I need to change something. Maybe I need to improve my home security. Maybe I need to get another job. Maybe we have to do something about money in the household. Maybe we need to move somewhere else. We have to do something. But staying in denial, never a good thing. Last one, number 7, and this is definitely one of the things that a lot of people have regret, which is not acting in time, not doing something when you were supposed to. Very closely linked to denial, right? We're just in denial. I'll just assume it. No. So I don't do anything. But in this point specifically, I'm talking about actually doing something critical in time, especially when it comes to leaving, evacuating. I've written an entire book about this, bugging out and relocating. You have it also if you look it up in Amazon. This is one of the toughest aspects, which is, hell, I have to leave this place. This place is going to hell, and I don't want to go down with it. For some people in Argentina, like myself, a lot, and it's hundreds of thousands that have done the same thing. Places like Venezuela as well. You were in Venezuela. You saw things getting worse. Socialism destroying every aspect of your life, the economy, your society, the politics. And you wait and you wait and you wait and you hope and you hope and you hope that it gets better one day, and it does not. And one day you wake up and you cannot even afford a plane ticket out of there, buddy. That's what happens when you don't act in time. And it has happened to thousands, to millions of people all over the world throughout history. When things were getting bad and they kept getting bad economically, war, social breakdown, whatever it is that happens, not acting in time. And I was talking about this with Selco many, many years ago. Well, not that many. It was a few years ago. We're talking about, I mean, that's what it's really all about. When on the worst case scenario, right? From an economic collapse to an invasion from a foreign aggressor to a nuclear power plant meltdown is, oh, I'm still going to wait to see how things go. Not acting in time, not taking advantage of the window of opportunity, which may be, again, something that I've researched a lot. It may be seconds. Your window of opportunity may be seconds. It may be seconds, as in the flood that we recently talked about in Texas. Not anywhere else, in Texas. You have a few seconds to act. You didn't act in time. You didn't leave when Russians were about to bomb the capital of your city, like in Ukraine. Oh, no, it's going to be... Next day, it actually happens. They actually do attack. The following day, right? Or something like a political, economic breakdown, which slowly but surely goes happening. And no, it's going to be fine. Years go by, and you still wait for it to get fine, and it does not. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, subscribe. If you want to learn more, you have the books. See you next time. Take care.